Good evening, bonsoir, Ani, and welcome to a special council meeting to discuss waste management, to look at the package that we received yesterday, I think it was. So with that, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I need a resolution to adopt the agenda. Okay, Dean and Dave. Hi, Renee. All those in favor? Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Before we get into the meeting, I'd like to make a comment or a couple comments, and they are directed to our treasurer, Marc Fleury. Came to my attention that at the last council meeting that I and Councillor Renee may have, you felt that we questioned your integrity, and certainly there was no intention of doing that. We do not question your integrity. We do not question your professionalism. As far as I'm concerned, and since I've been on council, you're the best treasurer that we've had. Yes, we've had a lot of questions, and perhaps the delivery was a little, perhaps not as clear as it should have been, but certainly, Mark, we certainly did not question your integrity. So if you felt that way, then I apologize to you, and look forward to working with you once we get, and hopefully we get this issue settled as soon as possible. Thank you. So with that, I have review of waste management consultation plan and survey. So how did we want to do this? Did you want to take us through it, Michelle or Kevin?
Yeah, thank you through you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to go through the public information and survey package for the waste management steps. This will be the information if we're all looking at the same sheets, the little slideshow with the fancy bubbles. This is going to be the information the public sees before taking the survey online. Staff's worked really hard to simplify the two options that council is currently considering to narrow everything down. So we're going to go right to page 1. Why are we here? Just explains why we're here, and the current household waste system is changing with these two options on the bottom of the page. I don't really think that needs any more clarification on that one. Then we go to page 1, which is option 1 for controlled transfer stations. Just states 2 site locations, Noelville and Alvin, household waste only, open 3 days a week, 10 hours a day, just as we spoke about, to mirror the Noelville site we have. Fenced in, camera monitored, attendant on site, attendant to verify proof of residency, types of waste and volumes, same as if you were to enter the landfill site. 2-bag limit as per our current waste management bylaw. Recycling will continue to be picked up curbside bi-weekly. And then we go on to the financials. Potential tax levy increase for this item only does not include any other potential budget increases as 3.56%. Total operating cost of the system annually is $499,290. I just have a quick note on that. We total operating cost of the system with the number of $499,290 included amortization of the capital costs and equipment and the capital loans. We will be changing this cost to $347,934 to show like the true operational cost, and then adding a bullet to show the other lines of the budgetary items. So that way it's a true representation. Sorry,
Kevin, can you give me that number? So it's going to 499,290. So go to what?
So the actual operating cost of the system is $347,934 a year. Just want to apologize for that. It just came out a little quick before we caught that one. So And then impact per $100,000 of your property assessment equals $31.48 a year. Timeline could be implemented by 2025 pending ministry approvals. So that's that page there. We're gonna move on. I'm just gonna wait for the questions at the end. I know there's gonna be a bunch, so. Option 2. Curbside collection. Garbage would be picked up curbside weekly. Recycling to continue to be picked up curbside bi-weekly. And I just want to put a note here. We are going to add a point that there will be a bag limit with curbside just to match what's on option 1. So they look the same because we left it out of this one. And then we move down to financials. Potential general tax levy increase 0%. Total operating cost of the system annually $294,000. Total capital cost of the system is $10,000. Impact per $100,000 of your property assessment is $0 per year. Timeline could be implemented 2024. Then we have the additional option only for curbside garbage with Sunday landfill hours. Additional hours to accommodate residents who find it challenging to put waste out on designated curbside collection days. Timeline, this could be implemented in 2024. Additional financials is potential general tax levy of 1.78%. 12 months of operating cost is $108,754. Impact per $100,000 assessment of your properties is $1,573 per year. And then we go to the final page. It's just the information letting the public know how to participate through survey and how to speak in person or virtually at the public information session. I know the idea of the meeting being held in Alvin was raised last meeting, but we were told by the IT people, it's not feasible. We don't have connectivity that could host all this stuff to do virtual. So I just wanted to, I know that was brought up at the very end of the meeting, so I just wanted to clarify. And I'm sure there's some questions coming my way or our way.
Okay, who would like to start? Everybody's looking at me. Okay, then I'll start because everybody's looking at me, so. First thing is, so the bag limit, right now our bag limit is 2 per day. So that's what our bylaw says, right? So for the curbside, are we going to allow 14 bags?
Correction, that is not what's going to happen, but that's an operational thing because if we put 2 down here now,
Yeah.
we will be held to this later. But operationally, if council decides to go curbside, we could have farms with a different allotment because they have different waste needs. Small businesses on the run, that would be different than 2. So that would have to be worked out in the operations and waste management bylaw. Because if we put 2, it is like, that is what our target is 2 per week at the site. That was the whole point of the 2 limiting 2. It was supposed to be like to deter so much waste going in. It is supposed to be more of 2 per week, but people, it's too hard to monitor. So some people come back every day with 2. So
Yeah. So then we would have to change the bylaw, the current bylaw. Because right now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but the current bylaw says 2 bags per day. Correct.
3 Madam Mayor. It just says 2, I believe 2 bags for that. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, I think it does.
Per visit. I don't think it's, I'm not sure if it's per day, but I'll double check.
Sure. Yeah, because that would happen. That would be one of the things to me. And I've told you this before, I can't imagine anybody producing 2 bags of garbage a day, but and again, those 2, what they do in some of the larger cities, so that would exclude diapers, because some people use disposable diapers. And of course, if you have a baby, they go through lots of diapers. I know in the city of Sudbury that you can apply for an exclusion for diapers, and they have to put them in clear bags, which I think is a good idea. So there's things like that I guess we would have to look at.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Again, like operationally, we're just looking for like whichever system that we're gonna go with, and then we will figure out the little nuances with everything as we go.
Okay. So I'd like to talk about the financial aspect of it, okay? Because I've got sheets and sheets of numbers and I'm trying to reconciliate them. So if the cost of the operating system for option one, well, I'll take one option at a time. So now it's down to 347,934. So is it still 3148 per year? If that number has gone down?
I
Somebody-
believe Mark, do you wanna? Or through the,
Okay.
yeah, so the price
tell me.
isn't gonna change anything. It's just depends where it's budgeted, but as it sits right now, that would be the cost of it.
Right.
If I may,
Oh,
Madam
sorry.
Mayor,
Yeah.
just for clarification. So in order to, because the way the numbers were presented here, that you have the capital outlay of 629. But the payment of that 629 is outlined in your annual cost of 499. So what Kevin has done with the assistance of Mark, our treasurer, we've come up with the 347 that was mentioned.
Okay.
Excuse me, just let me get my glasses here. Getting 347,934, which is the cost of just operating the system. All right.
Okay.
But what you have to also add is the capital acquisition of the 629,704. If you amortize that, which is something you have to do, that's an additional 62,970.
Right.
Okay, so add the 347,934 to the 62,970. That's the true cost of operation of approximately $410,904. Now, if council decides to fund this through our reserves, Mark and I have done some number crunching. I don't think we have enough in our reserves to come up with the full extent of it. In our initial calculations show that we'd be about 240,000 short. That being said, that's a budgetary exercise on how council would decide to fund the program. If for some reason you fully fund the program through reserves, now you're taking away another 88,386, which is your capital loan payment and the interest over the 10-year period.
Okay.
So now we're talking about a potential range of 410,904 to, if you fully do the capital loan program, to 499,290.
Right.
Okay. Was that clear?
Yeah, and the 410,904 represents what?
What represents your 347, which is your annual operations.
Right,
And plus you have to amortize the equipment you purchase
Right.
over the 10-year period, which is an additional 62,970, which brings you up to the 410,904.
right. So then, correct me if I'm wrong, then the 3.56 would go down
The 3.56 on that scenario would go down.
to what?
If you find 100%, it could
What?
go down to 1.93.
1.93.
But
So,
we have challenges in filing the full amount. That's what I'm saying.
yes, and even in my proposal the last week, I didn't fund a full amount.
No, and you propose a tax levy.
That's right, a one-year tax levy, so that it's not cumulative to the taxpayer year after year
So
after year.
That 1-year tax levy, based on our calculations of the 240,000 shortfall, would be an additional 4.42% 1-year tax increase.
But how, well, because now
Yeah.
you're short 200. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, because I, in my proposal that I had looked at, I had found, let's see here, where am I? Oh, hang on, there are too many papers.
So
Yeah.
the end result, Madam Mayor, is we're looking at a difference between 410 and 499, depending
Right.
where you end up with your budget process on how you fund this.
So for the taxpayers, when we're sending this out, would, should it not be noted that the range is between 1.93 to 3.56? If we decide to borrow the money to fund it, then it's going to be 3.56. But if we decide to fund it some or through a partial or partially through a reserve, it could be a difference between 1.93 to 3.56.
But the caveat is the additional one-time levy that you're proposing
Yeah.
is going to push it up even further than 3.56 for the first year. That's correct, Councillor Rennie.
Okay, well, I'm obviously not getting it, so sorry to make you repeat it again. So right now, if we look at what's presented to us, it's 3.56. Right?
If you borrow the money
If you borrow the money,
over time and repay the capital portion of the loan
right?
along with the interest, and you still have to amortize.
Yeah, amortization, I have no problem. That one I get
Yeah.
quite clearly. What I guess I don't get is if we take the money from our reserves and how can it be higher? Because if you're doing it at 3.56 and we borrow the money, then we're paying only on the,
And let me explain, Madam Mayor, because when
Yeah.
you borrow the money, it's over a 10-year period. So it's spread over 10 years. When
I
you
see.
do your one tax levy for the 1 year, you're hitting the tax dollars all in 1 year.
okay.
That's the difference.
So if we were going to do a tax levy, that's where you're getting that 4%. Okay, so that's at 100%, correct? That's if we do a tax levy at 100%, am I correct?
For the shortfall.
For the short,
capital, just
yeah.
cap,
just the capital,
And then you still have your operational.
right? So if we choose, that's at 100%. And then if we take some from the reserves and then fund some of it, then that 4% would be reduced, correct?
The 4% that I'm talking about, that's to cover just the shortfall that we envision through our exercise with Mark, our treasurer. So if we used some of the funds that we have in reserves, then we can have that discussion at the budget time on how
Right.
we make use of certain reserves. We're still short $240,000. So for your idea to work, we need to charge a special levy to collect that additional shortfall to cover the system.
Right, but in my proposal, I was only short not about 100,000.
We worked the numbers
Yeah,
and it's 240,000 because some of the numbers were already taken into consideration in some of the revenues that you were taking into consideration were already dealt with.
which ones? Do you remember off the top of your head? I just need to be clear.
So here's what I'm gonna say. How we come up with the final numbers during the budget process is totally a separate discussion,
Right.
right? What we're trying to inform the public without confusing everybody in trying to present a scenario that people can understand is a total amount of expense. Even if you want to take the tax levy out, sorry, Kev, the percentage out and just put amounts of money in, we can look at that just to show the true expenditure cost.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Because we'll have to find the money one way or the other at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, council.
Which is why I guess I was asking last week is, are we premature in doing this before we go to budget? Because, well, I think I'd rather see the numbers that we have now. But I mean, there's so much unknown. I guess that's what's bothering me. There's unknown because we haven't done the budget process. It could be 3.56, it could be more. The one-time levy could be 1%, 2%, 3%, 4%, depending on what council decides at budget.
Yeah,
Am I not correct?
you're correct, but I'm advising you
Right.
as the chief administrative officer and your treasurer, you're gonna have a hard time finding the 240,000 within our current reserves. That's what we're letting you know. Okay?
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But it still means we have to get through the exercise, and may mean that we choose different options in what we fund and what we don't fund. And but that, as you say, it belongs to the budget process.
But the numbers that we're showing you this evening will not change. Sorry, Kev, Madam Mayor.
Sorry.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. I believe you're correct, like the percentages are gonna, like, they could drastically change, so if council wants to remove that line and not show the public that now, then that's fine. And it's not gonna affect anything, we're just showing then we'll just show like the costs of the systems, the operations, without putting all the amortization in and everything like we were talking about earlier. And then they just get the true operating costs and the capital costs, and then there's no confusion on any tax percentages. If that's what council wants to do, then
Well,
we'll
so-
pull
so
that
To
up.
me, that
Yeah.
seems, it's just, there's so many variables. And I don't want somebody sitting down and saying, well, if you do this, then this isn't really true, because then if you take this out, then you really don't need to do this. And I'm going, no. Like, I don't want to get into discussions like that, because those discussions belong at a
Yeah.
budget process, right?
For you, Madam Mayor, you're correct. The budget, like, the cost is not gonna change. How it's funded is definitely a different conversation, so the cost is the cost, and remember, these are still estimated. They could be up by 20% or down by 20%. These are all estimated numbers, the best we are to our ability.
I think that's a good suggestion. I think I like that. Dave?
Maybe if we remove that, maybe just like in the information at the beginning or something, just show what number represents 1% of, just for information. I don't know if everybody's.
Well, with that, I don't think it's what represents 1%. It could go up or it could go down. And I think that's the problem. Like-
No, I mean, like what represents 1% of our
Oh, of our
budget?
total tax.
In the
base.
information, not in
Oh,
any
yeah,
of the
yeah,
options, just
yeah,
in the information at
yeah.
the beginning.
Yeah. Oh, Mark?
Yeah, so it's just you and I that have been talking.
I know.
If you maybe want to give an opportunity for the rest of council to
Yeah.
have a say, then I have a suggestion
Okay.
before we get on to a couple of other questions. How's that?
Just for, maybe just in the presentation, just like you said, just put the operational cost of the system. Mark said that it was 1.97 about without the amortization and all that. So maybe just the operation cost of operating that, the operating cost of operating the landfill on the Sunday, and the current operation cost of 294, which is what we currently have, right? Those are basically the three costs. Whether we do, the 294 is still there. That's, yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanna, but the capital cost is still there. That's still,
Yes, and I'm not saying it's not, but there's no capital cost to Sunday landfills, right? There's no capital cost to the Sunday one?
through you, Madam Mayor, correct.
Okay, and then you're saying that option one is only gonna cost us 10,000 in capital costs? Option two, I'm sorry. So 10,000 is 1 bin, 2 bins, 3, like how many more? Or it's just rubber mats would be $10,000?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it is just literally to rubberize and seal the floors in case there's any garbage seep out of those for the sheds on the private roads.
There's no added sheds to be put anywhere, there's none of that.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, that's,
So what are you doing with, do we have a solution for private roads that have 9 to 10 homes on them?
through
like-
you, Madam Mayor, again, I'd like to stress that that would be an operational challenge. We have not picked the system. We will figure these problems out, just like the option one is gonna have a lot of operational challenges. We.
So the
will-
cost of
we will
operating
figure
will go,
those out.
can go up, is what you're saying, the annually cost of operations.
I know, I'm not, I'm just saying that we will figure out the operational challenges that come. I'm not saying they can go up, they can go down too. Because, you know, now you're collecting more fees at the landfill site, so this could bring the levy, like this could bring us all down, right? Because right now, everybody's using the bin sites as the landfill, so now they'll be forced to go either way, whichever option's picked, they're monitored. So this will bring more revenue in one way or the other to the landfill site as well, so.
So there'll be just more revenues at the landfill because people pay. We don't currently pay to go to the landfill?
Through you, Madam Mayor, a lot of people hide construction material in their black bags and throw them in the bins right now.
Oh, that way, okay.
Not everybody does it right, unfortunately, which is why we find ourselves here today.
So maybe a
Mhm.
suggestion,
Sure.
now, Madam Mayor, and if everybody's in agreement with the suggestions put on the table, maybe we can move on to the next point of discussion. And what I would suggest is once we get through everything, maybe if we take a 15-20 minute break or a 15-minute break to try to demonstrate how that would show on the paper.
Yeah.
So that we have a clear direction this evening to start the process. Is that fair?
I don't have a problem with that.
Better understand.
Yeah. Okay. Dave?
I just had a couple. One for option one is basically just a question for myself, but do we know which days? It says it'd be open 3 days a week. Do we know which days that would be, or that's figured out later in operation?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we've been, as per all of our reports, we've been mirroring the Wellville site's hours, so. It'd be when the landfill isn't open, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Okay, and the 2 bag limit, is that tracked or? I mean, like, could you go like on Sunday and then again on Tuesday with 2 bags, or go to 2 different sites, or is that all, would that be all tracked?
Through you, Madam Mayor, again, it's another operational thing, if. We still don't have a system picked, so I can't figure these problems out
So there's
until.
nothing right
We
now.
will implement some sort of software, like we've been looking at the landfill for a while, it's just. We're not sure until we get direction on a system, we
Mhm.
can't really start fixing these operational challenges, so.
Okay, and just one more little thing for option two. Just the way it's worded, it kind of looks like it would be 2 days a week in a way where it says Friday and Mondays. I think that's meant for like different locations would be different dates. Yes, for option two.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So yeah, I guess we can clarify that a little better. It's just Mondays are trying to hit more seasonal residents, and then Fridays would be the core. Again, this is just a rough
Yeah,
talk with a contractor, like we do have a price, but nothing's firmed up again.
that's
These are all
what I
operational.
figured, but it just,
Yeah.
if it could be worded kind of in a way where it doesn't look like it's 2 days a week there.
It does say garbage will be like in option two, the first line is garbage will be picked up curbside weekly. We can put once a week there. Would that clarify for council?
I would refer to once a week, yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't refer to Friday or Monday,
Okay, so
sorry.
we'll just add that once a week.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would suggest in option one and probably even in option two, the same thing. I wouldn't try to put the amount per 100,000 of assessment. I think if you just put the budget increase of 3.56%, let people work with that number. I would do that in both of them. This is my suggestion anyway.
Actually, I don't disagree because that number could be fluid too, because if it's 3.5, that's based on 3.56, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
through you, Madam Mayor, I should have clarified when we were talking about this last time. If council agrees to pull out the percentages, that would fall on both on the impact as well. Because that would move that number as well. So they'll come off of both option one and option two, if that's what
Okay.
council wants.
Okay.
And I noticed, if I might, I noticed that it reads that that's amazing. What was I looking at here? That it's proposed as 3.56% of a budget increase. And I'm not sure whether as a potential budget increase, so it could be more, it could be less. And but that's an increase in our operating budget, right? We're not talking about an increase in the in the tax bill, no.
No, and that's why it's worded a potential general tax levy. So we're increasing our operational budget, how it works out within the assessment.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little bit
Well-
confusing, but
Yeah. Well, if it's confusing for you, maybe where's that, Dean?
okay, that's it. Thank you.
Willie?
More just for clarification with respects to option one, just on the first page, how we have it laid out, option one and option two, so control transfer station, and then option two, you have two visuals, curbside collection, and then additional option. To me, that almost says if, and, or. It would be and like additional, instead of additional option, as well as. It would be my suggestion to add there. To me, it says, I'm understanding it that you can do this or that. Maybe it's just my understanding of it.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So the whole way through this process, we have presented it as option two with, if that is agreed upon, right? It's option two, curbside, option one, transfer stations. And with option two, it's always been presented as if, you know, if it needed, if the public felt or council felt that the additional hours at the landfill would be there. It's never been tied together and on all of our reports all the way through. We've always left that as additional to cover for the seasonal people. If
So now I'm a little more confused. So you're saying we haven't ironed this out yet then? That it will be curbside and if need be, potentially to be fleshed out, we may provide the option for you to drop your stuff off at the landfill? Is that how I am to understand that?
through you, Madam Mayor, yes, so like I said, this whole way through, we've been doing this, and I believe we were waiting for public consultation, and that's one of the main questions on this. If there's a need for it, that way council can see if there is a need for it from the constituents. But that is, the landfill can be, we could change that. We could open it tomorrow, Sunday. We could open it Tuesday. We can do whatever we want operationally. We just need to notify the MOE. So that's an operational thing. Not so much as part of like these discussions we felt as per like the two options for household waste. Because we can open or close the landfill as needed as council directs us to. So if that is needed or council feels it is, then that's definitely an option to cover off for the Sunday that I believe that that all the council members are worried about.
Maybe I can clarify. The reason, and I too felt that Sunday landfill hours would be included because in the resolution that was passed last year, that part of the conditions of curbside garbage collection would be that the landfill would be open on Sundays to accommodate seasonal people. And so that's why that was one of my comments too, that that the operating, so maybe to make it easy for everybody, sorry, that instead of having this nice block thing, that we could put it under financials as another bullet and say Sunday landfill hours optional or Sunday landfill hours Sunday, and show whatever the cost is. I can't remember where the cost is. Oh yeah, 108,754. And you can put parentheses, parentheses, may be option or to be determined.
Through you, Madam Mayor, as per the December meeting for the motion that we received, it was for you and council wanted it for both options. So we didn't think it was fair to bump both up that high, but that's what the motion that we have from December states. So that's why we left it on a side note there, so that way everyone could see the difference. But that's what the motion states from December was for both options.
Okay, it should, okay. I don't have it in front of me, but the intent was only for curbside to accommodate the people because we knew we were going to get a lot of backlash, especially from seasonal people. It was not meant to be for, if the bins are there and they're open on Sundays, there's no reason to open the landfill on a Sunday if you have the bin system and they're open. And to me, is a duplication of work.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I totally agree, and that's why we left this a separate issue, because that's definitely looking outside of the cost of option two. It's an operational cost of the landfill site where this is picking up your household waste, right? So these are kind of two different issues, so.
I like it the way as is, that way in the questionnaire, we can see how many people would like to have the dump open on Sunday. That way we have more information the way it is.
I tend to agree with Dave on that. I might suggest that we say that we might try it, but if we didn't find that we were getting enough people using it on Sunday to warrant that cost, we'd drop it, that's all. But have it as an option that we would try just to see how well it was used.
And again, this cost is for 12 months. And if we're accommodating seasonal people, we don't need to open it for 12 months. So that's another thing that it could be looked at just the season, but that's again, operational.
And through you, Madam Mayor, and again, that's why we left this as a side note, because of all the different ideas, and you're right, we could put it on. And it's, there's nobody using it, so there's no need, and then we pull that shift. So that $110,000 to show into that option is not fair representation, which we're trying to be fair across the board for both options.
I get it. I don't have a problem with that. So but you'll take the percentage increase off like you're going to do with the other stuff. So, because it shows here 1.78 and then 1573 per year.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I believe that I've seen a lot of head shaking towards that. So yeah, we're gonna pull it out of there. And when we take the break, when we come back, we'll see the actual numbers. I believe Carly's in the background working on this as we're talking, so.
And I apologize, Bob, I see you there. You're so tiny on the screen.
Nothing but beer.
Nothing but beard. Go ahead, Bob.
You're on mute.
We still can't hear you, Bob.
Okay, so there may be some technical. Oh, okay. So Bob, if you look on your screen on the bottom, you got a little red microphone that shows that you're muted. Maybe click on that. Oh, he did, and you're being silenced by the computer. Okay, so maybe what we can do, because but I'd like to get Bob's feedback too. Maybe we can you call him? Is that legal? Are we allowed to call him and put him on a microphone? Can we do that? Okay, we'll figure it out. So that he, okay, can we try it? Oh, okay. Bob, we're gonna try calling you, okay?
Like,
Talk.
okay.
First of all, I apologize, you know how I hate Zoom meetings, but I did not want to spread what I have to do. When I read the document, is there a lot of feedback?
Yeah.
Maybe push it.
Okay, go ahead, try again, Bob. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, so
yeah,
Okay, I thought the document was pretty simple, easy to understand. We can say figures, this figure should be higher, that figure should be lower on any of them. But I think this is a great stepping stone to go to the public. I commend staff for the good work they've done on it. And sure, there's on anything, there'll be growing pains, but let's get an idea from our voters. And we got to move on this pretty fast. Winter is coming, and we don't know the state of our present equipment, so we got to get going. So those are my only thoughts for now, and I'll try to keep up with you guys here. Thank you, Missy.
thank you, Bob. Sorry about the technology. It's fragile.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? So, oh, sorry, Roger.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Just for clarification, just the people that are watching this tonight also need that information for their survey. Option one, basically we're altering a service that we already have, and there's a tax increase. Option two, it shows basically that we're adding a service and with extra cost, and there's no tax increase shown. Thank you.
Right, but we've decided we're not showing any increases or percentage or anything like that. We're just showing true numbers. So that the public is not going to see that, because you're right, the numbers are fluid. And depending on when final numbers come in, it could be higher, could be lower, could be the same. So not to confuse and make assumption on things, we're not going to put the percentage in. Dave?
I think what it is, what you're referring to is because you have to, right now we have a cost on our operation on the system we're using. So you minus that plus this, that's the, yeah.
Okay with that? Okay.
Christian said it's just-
Oh, Denise,
So
sorry.
really, our current cost is 294. This one was 499, but it's actually only 2% more, right? Because there is it's only 200,000. So
If I-
that's where you came up with the 1.97?
If I may, Madam Mayor, in lieu of our treasurer. So the baseline is basically taking what our current operational costs were, was $306,400. So you subtract that from any of the new options on the table, that's how you come up with your percentages. But I thought we agreed to remove percentages, but if council's happy with the discussion so far, we can move to make those changes and come back to you. So we, like I said, we really would like some direction this evening.
Absolutely. Okay, so shall we take a 15? How long do you guys need to put it together? 20 minutes? Okay, whatever you need. And then we'll resume once we have another look. Oh, coffee's on. All right. We don't need to move into recess, Mel, just take a break. So before you, we have the updated, sorry, the updated version as per our discussion. And Michelle or Kevin, you gonna take us through it or?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I believe it's just all the changes we talked about, for the financials. We removed the assessment per 100,000, the percentages. I know option 2, we added, once per week. So
Okay,
I already,
okay. And bag limit to be determined. So I see that. All right, any questions for, oh, sorry, Madam.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So one more item that someone had mentioned was that in the survey question, that it was misleading or it could have been misleading to show that curbside pickup would be on Fridays and on Mondays. So we changed the wording to reflect household waste will be picked up weekly, either on Fridays or on Mondays to accommodate seasonal residents. Okay.
That's much clearer. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? All right. Oh, any?
I'm not sure, Mondays would work good, so I don't think we should put Mondays in there because of all the long weekends during, you have May, you have July, you have August, you have September, you have October, long weekends.
Kevin
So-
has it.
Okay,
through you, Madam Mayor, that was, council's request to go out for Mondays to cover all the cottagers. Or all the seasonal people and weekends.
Well,
It- Part,
That's part of the,
part of the costing
that's already
is,
costed.
no, they would pick up on the Monday. So the contract would be on the Monday. Correct. Correct. I think too, that was part of the, sorry, resolution. So. Anybody have any questions? So do we have consensus to send this out ASAP? Any objections? I think we're good. Dave, you're okay? Oh, Bob, I keep forgetting about Bob. Where are you, Bob? Oh, is he? Yes. Oh, okay. So the survey and all the information will be available in both languages.
Bob says I agree.
Bob says I agree. Okay. Okay, thanks, Bob. All right. Any other questions? So is this a wrap for tonight, folks?
I think so.
Any questions from everybody there? No, we're all okay? You have enough information from us? All right, so then I need a resolution to adjourn. Willie and Roger. All those in favor? Thank you. And again, I want to thank staff for doing an absolutely great job. Now that I see it in color, because at home I only have a black and white, it's even more striking in color than when I was looking at it in black and white. And so thank you very much. And thank you for some patience with us.
That's like.
Sure.
The comment I have is that I kind of wish that the end result of this wasn't going to be on January 24th, because that's my birthday. And it could just be the wrong answer that I might get on my birthday.
Well, Dean, if
Sorry about that.
sorry. We're done?
Dave had something.
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
Just on option 1, the annual amortization capital equipment 62, or, so that's depending on how it's paid, right? It's not both, it's
Yeah.
one or the other.
Yeah, the amortization will stay.
Yes,
And depending on how you fund the project, there could be an additional 88,000 if you go out and borrow the money.
right.
Okay, that's how we presented it.
So it's one or the other. Okay.